Hi, John. Welcome to the CaLew perspective here.
Hi,
How are you
Joe.
doing, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good, good.
Good.
We got a topic here that I thought I wanted to just explore, and I know you and I were talking about this. Things that make you happiest,
Mm-hmm.
and there are so many
So many things.
things that sort of I think over the course of my life that I found to have made me happiest at one point or another.
Yeah.
I think one of the things too is that it's always changing, especially from the time that I can remember as a really young person all the way up to my current age.
Yeah.
And there's so many different moments that I thought, I was really happy at that. But, it's like looking back at those that you really feel like that
Yeah.
was really now something that the happiness that you had was so memorable that it
Yeah.
was kind of been stamped and ingrained into your brain or
Yeah.
memory, you
So
know.
when I think things that make you the happiest, and I think of this just the stages of your life that
Okay.
you go through, and then what makes you happy at those stages. And then just to go back what you were saying of, the kind of those memories that come back,
Hmm.
I think those are important. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
But just, thinking about as if, the stages of life. So when I was a child, a kid, toys. I wanted toys. Man, those are what made me happy at that time.
So you're telling me that even if you had a box, that would have made you happy?
I'm sure. I know I'd love to have something in the box, but
Okay.
I'm sure we could make the box, have
That's
fun with the box.
yeah.
But yeah, like just those little things when you're young that you think of, you don't, for me anyway, looking back now, you can think of the memories and things like that of with your family and kind of those kinds of things. But
Mhm.
as when I was in those moments as a child, I know that I wanted toys, just like what my boys want today.
Yes.
They want tangible things, things they can touch, feel, play with. And, toys was it. Um, that's what I wanted when I was a kid.
Did you have a favorite toy or something that you could remember that you thought that really made you?
So as a younger kid, there was a few things. One, I like when I was growing up, Transformers was big. I know
Okay.
it's still big now.
Yeah, right.
Transformers, what else was there? G.I. Joe was
Yeah.
big, right? So kind
That's
of
always been.
everything comes back around, right?
It
Because it's
does.
still, those
It
are still
does.
out.
What about Ninja Turtles?
Ninja Turtles, of
Okay.
course, yeah. And then I was into wrestling actually a lot.
Really?
So yeah, I had like a bunch of wrestling figures, WWE,
Okay.
no, WWF at the time,
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
WWE. So I was into wrestling. I think for one birthday, my mom made me like a wrestling cake. It's like she
Okay.
made a ring, the
Yes.
ring, and then like she put my toys in there, so they were like wrestling. So it was kind of cool.
Do you remember that? I mean, you remember how old you were then?
Oh man, I must have been 9,
Okay.
10, 9, 8, 9, 10, something like that. But
Okay.
I was fairly young
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
Not like, super young, 5 years old or anything. But yeah, I loved wrestling. So the toys, anything I could get my hand on there was awesome.
So
Um,
as you were saying this, it reminded me of, you know, I remember being two
yeah.
and I had a dump truck.
Uh-huh.
I got it for Christmas and
Okay.
I wanted so much to, it had the little motor thing on it that you could click the gear
Yeah.
and it
It
would
would
crank
raise
up
up
the
the
raise
dump.
up the
Yeah,
dump.
yeah,
And I wanted so much to sit inside the truck. I thought if I
yeah.
could sit inside this,
Yeah.
maybe I would drive this
That's
guy. And so I was always into the sort of the dump trucks, but I sat on the dump truck so that I could ride in it. And
Did you
I think
really?
I broke
You
the
really?
little the hatch thing.
Oh
So
no.
but I still I enjoyed that truck for years.
Yeah.
And until I don't know whatever happened to it, but I didn't throw it away. It was not one of those toys that you threw away.
Right.
And I remember having it at 2 years old
Dang.
for Christmas. And
I can't remember anything when I was 2 years old.
oh my gosh,
My memory is bad from the back then.
yes,
I think the earliest memory I've had was on the playground. I was pretty sure I was 5 years old on
okay,
the playground. One was, of course, meeting my friend in kindergarten and telling him we like girls. But the other was I was in a wagon, a metal wagon,
okay,
one of my friends was pulling me along, but it's one of those things where my friend like did a sharp left
Oh my
turn,
goodness, I
and
know
then
what's
boom,
coming. I
I
saw it
tumbled out.
coming.
I went, oops! I let go of it, and I just forward rolls. But that made me happy because
That
I was running around my friends.
See, I remember that too, kind of being pulled in the wagon. It was a Western Flyer wagon, I
Oh
think,
man,
on the
yeah,
side of it.
that's
And I
cool.
remember them pulling me, and I'm
Yeah,
just looking up at the sun with my eyes closed. I
uh-huh.
could see the sky, and my
Yeah,
eyes were closed. And I'm thinking, this is so much. I
it was
just enjoy.
fun.
Yes, it was. It was one of
Man.
those happy moments
Happy
that,
the happy moments, man.
Well, would you say that I think one of the things too that sort of makes us happy, at least I remember as a kid again, Valentine's Day and
Mm,
actually picking out that special first
to
sweetheart
give
that you had
to,
to give
yeah,
your Valentine to.
yeah,
And it was like,
that's cool.
I'm nervous, but I'm happy because it's like, how are they going to take this?
Yeah,
It's like, will they feel like, okay, you're
same or
my
to be
Valentine?
there.
Will they be
Your
with
Valentine.
somebody else? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was
Don't say
excited
I'm
about it.
because you'll break
Oh my God, yeah,
my little heart. Yeah.
totally. And so I remember that,
Yeah.
the birthday parties
Mm.
that you had as a youngster, kind of like what you were saying
Yeah.
about that, those the moments. I mean, and I think you had indicated, you don't realize it
You don't.
until all of a sudden, you look back and you realize that that was really, I was really
Right.
happy about
Yeah.
having that moment with my friends and having this birthday cake and
Yeah.
kind of like what you were saying with your mom had made this special cake for you and, you
Yeah.
know,
Again, the kids in the moment, you don't realize, what kind of memory you're making or creating. That's why I think when, as a child, if you were to ask a child, hey, what makes you happiest? They will say, oh, it's my toy
yes,
or my something physical and tangible to them. So totally different than, what it is today that makes you happy, maybe when
yes.
in our lives now. But,
It's part of the
just
growth,
going,
right?
it's part of that growth. Yeah.
Yeah.
As a child, that's what you want. And then it just evolves from there.
Did you ever have a puppy
No,
you never
no
did?
pets. We
No
never had any
pets.
pets.
Never had any pets.
Never had
Well, I
any pets.
remember, us having a pet.
Uh-huh.
And I remember we were excited about getting, and then we got, the first puppy at
Oh yeah.
home, and you're like really happy. You wanted to feed it, you
Yeah,
wanted to do
yeah.
all these things like that. And you had a fun time with that until the puppy got big enough that it was like, okay, a full blown dog. And I think the
You're like, I'm
happiness said,
done. I'm
oh,
done
I'm
talking.
kind of
I'm
done
done.
now.
I'm done with being happy about
But
it.
I
Yeah.
remember that first moment they
Yeah.
brought home and had this little box with the puppy in it, and it
Oh,
was like, oh my gosh, and everybody, we
that's
were
so
all
cool.
happy, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's cool. And then, just, my kids, we recently got a puppy. So
okay.
I know that for my kids, they're like, oh, I love the puppy. I love her so much. And I've waited for this my whole life. And like, it's very dramatic for them. But it's again, like
It
you
is
said,
that happy moment. That's gonna be
and it's going to be burned into their minds.
exactly.
And that's it for them.
And it
Right.
stayed there. And that same thing is in my head years ago.
Right.
That did that. So,
Yeah.
another thing that I thought made me happy was sort of having the opportunity to get out on my bicycle
Okay.
and ride.
Yeah. We all
You
know you
know,
love cycling.
Oh yeah, it's like, and I always called myself the Lone Rider because I'd be
The Lone
solo
Ranger.
most of yeah, the Lone
You
Ranger.
didn't have a Tonto?
I did not. I did not. I should
Does
have.
people even know what that means anymore?
You know,
A Lone
I
Ranger?
think they would probably have to look that up.
Yeah.
In regards to, the series that used to come on. You probably don't even remember the series,
I,
do you?
I think I watched the
They-
reruns of it.
oh
For sure
really?
the
Okay.
reruns. It was the rerun. It was never live when I was,
No, no,
but it was the
it
reruns.
was reruns for
Yeah.
me
Oh
too
yeah.
as well.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But I remember watching Lone Ranger and his friend Tonto,
Tonto.
and
And they came out with a movie
they
a
did.
few years.
Yeah,
Was
it
that Johnny
was.
Depp?
I think it
Was
may
he as
have been.
Tonto,
I
right?
think it may have been. Yes, I
With
think
the
it
crow in his
was.
head.
Yes, yes, I think it
Anyway.
was. But
Anyway, random.
anyways,
Okay. Yeah.
but yes,
Anyway,
I mean,
people don't know what that is.
look
Look
it
it
up.
up.
But in that I remember riding, and sometimes I'd be like somewhere like 50 miles almost into the ride,
Wow.
and thinking that when I get back, I'm gonna eat as much pasta as I can just to
Yeah. Carbs.
recarb up,
Yeah. Yeah.
that kind of thing. But
Need the
I
energy.
was really, it was really, it was a great time. It's
Yeah.
just, I felt like I was just letting the wind blow through my hair.
Oh, you got hair then?
I think it blew my hair off. When I left it
That's
somewhere.
why.
That's what
It's all the
happened.
miles.
Yeah, it's all
It's all the miles
out
that
there.
got you
It's on
off.
the side of the road
Yeah,
or
that's
something,
funny.
But in any case, that was always a really happy time. I was, out there, and then I rode a lot of times too with a friend of mine that I met. I met this guy on the side of the street somewhere in Irvine, the middle of Irvine, one day. I'm doing
Okay.
a long ride, and we started riding together. We rode together for years, and I mean, we would do some long miles. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
So
together.
cool.
And so, doing that, I really enjoyed that. That was really a happy moment. We would look forward to. We would our thing that we would do is that we would meet at a certain place somewhere in Irvine at a
Okay.
coffee shop. We would have a cup of coffee to
Okay.
really crank up. It's
Get
cold
amped
in the
up.
morning. You could
Yeah.
feel the cool brisk. It's like maybe 50 something out, and and the wind chill is even colder
Yeah.
because once you get going, your hands are frozen on so but you think that and you think, how could that make you happy?
Right.
But it was like, oh man, this is like exhilarating.
Yeah.
There were times, I mean, out there, you just I mean, we're riding for miles out in the middle of nowhere. It's just the two of us.
Wow.
And,
Mm.
and we're having conversations after conversations after conversations before we realize we're 50 some miles into the
Yeah.
ride,
Wow.
and then you're coming back around and you say, okay, well, guess we're going to do it tomorrow.
Nice.
So some
Cool.
days we would do like 70 miles and then we do 50 miles the
Mhm.
next day, just kind of a shorter
Yeah.
route, and that kind of thing. But that was really, I was happy doing
I
that.
was happy.
I've done that in a long time.
You haven't? Yeah. You
I
need to
need you
get
to go out
back
there
out
with me,
there.
John.
Yeah,
Okay.
oh my, I'll be your tonto.
Oh, listen to you. So,
Oh man,
in any
that's
case,
good.
but one other thing that, as we were talking about this, and I was thinking about this a little bit more. I used to have a cup of coffee with my mom.
Oh, okay. Okay.
As I'm adult and now at this point, and she lived in Kansas City at that time.
Okay.
So I would fly there, and when I was visiting, she knew I was coming.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as I got to her place,
Mm-hmm.
I would walk in the door,
Yeah.
and she said, "Okay." She said, "Are you ready for a cup of
She already
coffee?"
had it ready?
She was ready, and she knew I was coming, and I knew that she was going to have it ready. That
Oh,
was really
that's
a
cool.
happy time. I will always remember that.
Yeah.
Always. And so sometimes even on her birthday, she's been gone now probably like a good 12 years,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes on her birthday, I
Yeah.
will have a cup of
You have that cup of
coffee
coffee with her.
just to
Cup of
say,
coffee with
yeah,
mom.
it's one of those happy
That's
moments that'll
cool.
forever live
See,
until I
yeah.
leave. So
So
yeah,
did she make the coffee
she made the coffee.
exactly the way you like it
Oh
though?
yeah.
She knew exactly
She
how
knew
you like it, huh?
exactly, and she'd
That's
have
cool.
that ready. And every time I came, we'd have a cup of coffee and just sit there
Yeah.
for a moment, just the two of us.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've got brothers and sisters, but it was just the two of us that had that cup of coffee. She knew that I was
That's
gonna,
you. That's
yes,
you.
have that cup
That's
of coffee. That was it.
your time
Yes,
together. That was it.
happiest, one of the happiest
That's awesome.
moments.
That's so cool.
Anything you can think of that you feel like,
Happy. So,
yeah, because I mean, it constantly changes.
oh
I mean,
my
maybe
gosh, yeah, it constantly does. So I'll just going back to kind of, you talked about cycling, I talked about tennis a
yes,
lot.
okay,
So I can remember I had a match, doubles match. So it was me and a partner,
okay.
and we were playing in, I think it wasn't nationals, it was called sectionals. So we made it to sectionals. You won your league, and then you play other winners of leagues around
Mhm, mhm.
the state, Southern California. And then we had a match. And I think if I can remember this correctly, um, I want to say it was somewhere, maybe it was Ojai. I think it was
Oh,
Ojai or
okay.
something like that. And me and my partner, we've been playing together for a while. We had been like, we were a really strong team, a really good team. And we played another really, really strong team. Maybe it wasn't, no, maybe it was in Orange County. Anyway, we played lights out.
Oh my gosh.
The other team played lights out. And I think we ended up losing the match in 3 sets.
Wow.
It was super close. It was only a couple points that really separated us. But I think after that match, I think I told my partner, I was like, this is like the most fun match I've ever had in my life. And we lost,
Yeah.
but it was
The
so
intensity.
enjoyable. Yeah. Because
Oh wow.
both my partner and I we were clicking. right? So we were like reading each other's minds. We knew what we were doing. We were having fun, enjoying ourselves. And then the other team, they were good. So it was a good challenge, but it was also a very, like, we had a lot of camaraderie on the court. So it was intense, but it wasn't like crazy and like, it wasn't like we hate each other intense. It
Right,
was like,
right, right.
man, we were mutually respectful of each other. Like, you guys are great players,
It's
great
like at the
moments.
top
And it
of
was
your,
like, yeah, and it was like, oh my gosh, I lost that match, but I had the most fun I've ever had on a tennis court.
oh,
It was just one of those things. And it was, I think, I don't know if you asked my partner if he'll say the same thing, but he'll probably rank it up there and say, yeah, that was a fun match, even though I wish we would have won for sure, 100%. Don't get me wrong. I wanted to win, but we didn't work out that time, but we lost. And it was fun. And I don't think I've ever had that much fun on a tennis court,
really?
especially in a losing battle, right? Because every time I get out there, I don't want to lose.
Okay. So
Right. So
yeah,
that's,
the
I mean, that's
competitive
the
side of
competitive.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. That'll come out. And I'm like,
Exactly.
I don't want to lose, right? 100% never want to lose. But that for some reason was something I just enjoyed that day. And
So
it just burns
do
in
you
my
miss
head.
sort of playing tennis?
I don't know if I miss it.
Okay. I mean, you
Yeah.
found happiness in that.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, I did
okay.
for sure. I think I need to get back. Maybe if I get back into it then I'll find it again.
Maybe you'll get that
Yeah.
way
The
with the
burning
boys.
desire, the
You know, the
desire.
boys
Yeah.
will
Maybe
get
that's it.
old enough
Maybe. Yeah.
and say, okay,
Yeah, maybe they'll
let's see
like
what
it.
you
Yeah.
guys have. See if we can do.
But for me personally, yeah, I haven't. I got to get back out there and see.
Yeah.
And if it comes back, awesome, great. If it doesn't come back, like you said, if I can pass it down to the boys and they can have an enjoyable time, and it's a lifelong sport, right? You're gonna play their life, lifelong. So
Well,
it'd be great. But if not, that's okay.
I,
I don't have that like when I could feel it. You could
you
feel
like
it in
that,
your belly.
like that. That's what I was
You feel
asking.
it. Yeah, you feel it like, oh, I want to win. I want to be good. I want to. And then now it's different. It's just changed in my
Yeah.
life.
Okay.
Not good or bad. It's just changed.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I guess maybe that's sort of it too. And I would go back to a cycling moment that,
Mm,
as you were talking, it kind of reminded me of. And I thought they always had at the end of the summer, there
mhm.
was the Orange County Classic, and it was a 100-mile
Wow.
trek.
Okay.
And I sort of like thinking, I'm geared up for this. And I've been riding consistent. So, it's like, okay, I can do this 100-mile.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I did it, and I'm riding, and I remember us taking us through really through Irvine and out and then into southern Orange County.
Okay.
And there were some pretty strong hills that were coming up.
Okay.
And I always used to think of these hills as being really like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to run into any hills, it's kind of
Yeah.
like that. It kind of, you know. And so the first thing on this trek, we come around the corner and we're in, I believe it's like either Laguna Hills or Laguna Niguel or something, but there's this major come around this corner.
Okay.
And then we're getting ready for this major, and I look and there's this hill that is literally going straight up.
Okay.
And I see cyclists that are climbing and they're almost up the top. And I start climbing
Yeah.
and I get, like, I'd say 1/3 of the hill. And I'm thinking, I cannot go
Yeah.
any further. And I'm thinking, I've got another 100, I've got like at least a good 70
Oh.
or 80 miles to go. And this first hill is eating me alive.
Mm-hmm.
So I get off the bike and I walk it up the rest of that hill
Okay.
because it was too steep for me to climb it. And psychologically, I had been beaten
Can do it.
on that hill
Yeah.
already. And now I've got another 80
Oh,
some
man.
miles to ride
Yeah.
after that. But so I thought, you know what? I'm going to tackle that hill.
Yeah.
So the friend of mine that I was telling you about, the next day after this 100-mile ride, and I did the 100-mile ride and came back. I was spent at the very end of it, but
Yeah.
I did it. I completed it, and it was well, probably mid-afternoon by the time it was done.
Yep.
But my determination to beat that hill was the next day.
Okay.
And I thought, I'm going to go around and I'm going to hit that hill and I'm going to crank up that hill until I get it.
Yeah.
That was a happy moment when I did it.
You did it.
To
Awesome.
yes, I got it all the way to the top of the hill, which it felt like oh my gosh, I was riding up to heaven.
Yeah.
That's how steep
Stairway to heaven.
it looked like. And I thought for a moment, I'm thinking, man, I don't know, maybe I'm going to lose it
Yeah.
again. Have to get. I didn't want to get off,
Yeah. Yeah. So you
so
just kept pushing.
I kept pushing it, and it was like you said in that moment. It was you said even though you lost
Hmm.
that game,
Yeah.
it was the invigoration
Yeah.
that you guys had that was
Right.
on both sides
Right.
of the
Right.
court that made that moment a happy moment. And
Hmm.
I'll never forget that I beat that hill that next day.
Yeah.
I just
That's
thought
awesome.
it beat me yesterday, but I
Right.
got you
You got it
today.
back. Yeah.
Yes.
You got
And
it
so
back.
that was and it
That's cool.
reminded me
That's
of
cool.
that when you said that. And I thought, okay, so those are sort of happy moments
Yeah.
that I remember having there too as well.
Yeah. That's cool.
So
That's awesome, man.
what do you think some of the other moments that would
So
potentially
yeah.
make you
So
happy?
of course, again, your stages in life. Now, if you're an adult, um, your happiness changes.
Yes.
So it could be your job,
Okay.
maybe.
Yes.
Hopefully, it's
Yes.
something that you enjoy. Your job is something that you
Yeah,
enjoy,
because you
and
spend a lot of time
a lot of
there.
time. I mean, and it's going to be
Yes,
most of your life is
you
going to be
do.
doing that
You do.
job. Um, so hopefully it's your job,
Yes.
that you're at least happy about. Um, and we'll talk about passion another time,
Yes.
but hopefully it's at least serviceable to get through, the next whatever it is, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, whatever you're long you're going to work. 'Cause that's a tough one, right?
Yeah.
Um, your friends again also become something that makes you happy, being around them, having experiences with them, just watching them grow, as well as yourself growing. I think that can make you happy. And then, your other stages of adulthood. So if you do get married,
Well, yes.
right, you're
Yes.
hopefully that makes you happy. Uh,
That should be one
it
of
should be
one of your happiest moments in
moments.
in your
Yeah,
life
yeah,
that you have
yeah,
there.
yeah.
And then I would say again, your kids
Yes, exactly.
that you experience becoming a parent too,
Yeah,
and then watching their growth over the course of time
yeah.
and so
It's
on. So those become
kids, pets, right? Like
yes,
we talked about, we just got a
yes,
puppy, so
yes.
that's like having a kid.
It is. It is
Like
having
that's like having a
another
kid
kid.
forever, though,
Yes.
instead of having your kids grow up and take care
And
of
right,
themselves,
right. And
right?
then you think, and then they said, "Okay, mom, dad, see you later." And
Yep.
the puppy stays
Later.
with you,
The
and
dog's like, nope,
I'm still
I'm
here.
still gonna go to the bathroom over there. You still got to clean it up,
Absolutely.
which is
So,
fine.
know.
But yeah, what about you? Anything
Well,
else?
I would say that the act of kindness, showing compassion
Yeah.
for someone else. I remember once, and it was interesting. I had the opportunity to do, and I can now remember what city it was in, but to help feed the homeless.
Mm,
And I volunteered to do that. And the setup of it, we were there and we were preparing all this food, and then people were starting to line up, and the people were, you know, they were sort of not necessarily expecting you to be sort of, I guess, probably understanding
hmm.
that they were there and they were hungry. And
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to do this. And I got so much joy from being able
Yeah.
to assist and the
Helping.
smile and helping with them that I wasn't even hungry. I
Right.
mean, I went that whole full day
Hmm.
helping to serve
That's great.
those folks
Yeah.
that, were in need.
Yeah.
And I came away with so much more, I think, than I went there with,
Yeah.
from the people to the smiles on their faces, seeing them happy for that moment that we were able to do this. It was another thing that I remember being a happy moment in my
Yeah.
journey,
Well, it's like,
you know.
what are the books? What's the books? Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Oh, yes, yes, yes,
That's what it is, right? You're feeding your soul.
yes. And
Um, that's
it was
probably,
that.
yeah, that's
It
probably one
was
of the
that.
greatest things you can do is to feed the soul. So,
And so, yeah, that was sort of one of the things too that I remember doing in my adult life and
yeah,
so on. And I would love to be able to do that again. I would like to do it on such a level that it would really be larger than what I remember
yeah,
seeing. You know what I
right,
mean?
yeah,
And especially now because you see so many people that are in need
Right.
that you kind of think, well, what can you do
Yeah.
to sort of help bring some solace to their existence?
Right.
It's not about me,
No.
but I'm going to be a little selfish and take a little bit of that happiness that I wanted to have
Yeah.
to help them out. I'm
Right.
going to take that for me too. So
Sure.
yeah,
Of
would love to do
course you
that.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes
So,
sense.
hanging out with friends,
Yeah.
having a chance to do that. You don't get a chance to do that very much. And sometimes when you do, it's so fast and so quick that when you turn
It is.
around, it's not until you look back and you think, that was a great time,
Right.
And,
Well, it's like we talked about, I think the memories,
yes,
and you don't realize in those moments that you're creating a memory that can bring you happiness, or, right? Just even talking today, right now, um, we brought up different memories from our
yes.
past that we didn't even probably haven't thought of for years.
I mean, you go through it. Well, that brings me to kind of a point that I remember hearing Steve Jobs
Hmm.
say, and it was in his commencement speech. And I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but I'm just going to cut through because the main thrust of it was he said it's not until you look back that you're able to connect the dots, that you're
Yeah.
able to see
Yeah.
the bigger picture.
Yeah, I agree. Because again, you can have a plan for your future, right? If I'm a 20 something and I'm going to graduate from college and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to get a house. I'm going to get a whatever X. I'm going to have a
Car, get your
family, a car, right? A kid or kids or pets or whatever, or whatever. Take any of those away either, right? You get whatever plan you want. But to get there, right? There's that whole journey in the middle
yes,
that you don't remember. You have to go through to get those things. And some of those things will seem like a blur until you stop and look at it and say, "Oh, well, how did I get this into this position right now? Oh, I
yeah,
remember now. It's having coffee with my mom that makes me smile every day, or cycling, right?
yeah.
Those 100 miles that I did with my buddy that we talked for, the couple few hours that we were on the
Hmm.
bike." The tennis match that we lost, but we still had a blast playing.
Yes.
All those little things that you
And then
don't
you look back
remember. Yeah.
and put that together and you
And then
think,
you
oh my
think,
gosh,
that's why I'm here. And
yeah.
that's how we got here. And that's why we're talking about, what makes you happy. And it's those memories that you create, that you don't think about, that make you happy
Well, I mean,
ultimately.
I know a lot of you out there have memories sort of such as ours,
Hmm.
and I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on
Yeah.
some of the happiest
Please
moments that you
share with
guys have had.
us.
We'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
Um, one of the things too that I think brings happiness, especially to me, is the act of kindness. I remember
Okay.
just a day or so ago, there was a guy, random guy, I didn't know him. I was visiting a friend of mine, and it started misting rain,
Hmm.
and we were walking out, and he was coming up to the trash bin. He was getting ready, and I looked over at him. I didn't know him, but I said, "Hey, so what'd you do? You turned the sprinkler system on?"
Yeah.
And all he did is he started laughing,
There you go.
and he
You need to
said,
smile. Yeah.
"Yeah,"
You need to
and
laugh.
he said, "No, I don't know what happened. I don't know." And I said, "Well, you got to make sure when you go back to turn it off."
There
And
you
then I
go.
kind of turned and the friend of mine and I, we turned and walked. And then he said, "Hey," he said, "you guys take care." It was a simple
Simple
act of
act.
kindness and just making him laugh at that moment
Right.
randomly.
Yeah.
And something like that, I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
It makes me happy because it's suddenly you've connected with another human that you didn't even know. It was just for a brief moment
Yep.
and it made a smile.
Yeah.
And then we were on
For
and
whatever, for
maybe
that
ever
moment.
see them again.
Yeah, that moment he didn't have to think about, maybe he was something troubling him.
And it
Maybe there was something he was going through, and but for
exactly.
that moment he
We were
thought, "Oh man, this guy's, making me laugh."
so
I love it.
well, in any case, we're going to close as we typically do with a random act of kindness. We
Yeah.
always try to mention that because I think today we need an act of kindness that we feel is most needed and
Yeah.
less given
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
And we'd like to have you
Share with us. Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
just like Harold just shared about his little moment there,
Yeah.
right? You don't even think about, it was this a moment of kindness. It was
I
just
just
a
a
moment,
moment, and it turned out
and
to be kindness.
it turned out to be
Yeah.
that, that maybe it's what exactly what that person needed at the time.
Yeah.
So, great story.
Excellent. Well, thank you for tuning in, and we'd like to see you again here next time. Hit us up
Follow us on
and let us.
social. Yeah,
Yeah.
social media, Facebook,
Instagram,
Instagram, TikTok, Spotify,
YouTube.
YouTube.
Yes.
We'd love to hear from everybody here. So
Excellent. Thank you for tuning in. All right.
thanks
We'll see you
again.
next
We'll see
time.
you next time. Bye.